Those fans, Jordan Westburg out. Now we have an infield conundrum, and we're going to get into that here on Joe Rosano's Orioles Report. Joining me is the brilliant Michael Sullivan, the handsome Matt Faulkner. Joe Rosano's Orioles Report is next. Welcome to Joe Rosano's Orioles Report with Michael Sullivan, Matt Faulkner. Michael Sullivan, what say you, sir?
Well, I guess the talk of the O's for the last week or so has almost since the start of spring training. So yeah, over a week is the infield situation, and it was complicated right off the bat with Jackson Holliday breaking a hamate bone in his hand and being out for a certain period of time, and you know things went from bad to worse a little bit later uh, after that, when, we learned first, Jordan Westburg, I believe they said he had an oblique injury. But before you knew it, they were like, oh, he's got an elbow injury. and, and they're talking about now him getting a PRP injection to try to, save his ability to play some this year. So I think that creates all kinds of questions. And so, Matt, what do you think? What direction are they going to head now?
Well, I think that's the $1 million question. What sucks is the timing of this. Like, you would have loved to have known this prior to, the off season, all the trade deadline, the free agency period. And so the fact that this kind of came up so late, it really put the Orioles, in my opinion, especially with the Westburg, because he's going to be out much longer than I believe Holliday is. It really puts them in a bind because it's not as if they can go out and just suddenly sign a free agent off the street, because those guys are already signed, at least, the ones that are going to, I think, do a good job. And then as far as the trade deadline goes, you got that in July, but that doesn't help you now. So it definitely raises a lot of questions that I was hoping we wouldn't be having this conversation here in February. I was hoping that, knock on wood, everybody was healthy. So definitely creates some issues. But I think internally there's some guys that I think can step into those roles, and I don't think the Orioles are going to be too bad off with the in-house guys that they currently have.
So, Joe, I'll work it back over to you then. Matt mentioned those in-house guys, and Elias seemed to be girding for the loss of Holliday a little bit when he traded for Blaze Alexander. But so there are in-house options, and there are options that he's acquired and guys on the roster. Which way do you think they're going to head with the opening now at second base and third base, at least to start the season? Although I saw Holliday, sounding really optimistic about being back in the first, week or 2 weeks.
He got the stitches out, and we're thrilled to hear that. Young man's doing better. Let me say this. Matt, you and I touched on in an earlier broadcast, I want to see Coby Mayo play. Okay. They're going to give him a heck of a look here in the spring at third base. Again, at the end of the day, I want to see him play every day. I mean, again, if nothing else, if he does perform well, it's good for the Orioles. If he does, if he, as I said, continues to perform well, he's a deadline trade chip. So, I get back to Jeremiah Jackson, gentlemen. I mean, he doesn't get talked about enough. If you watched Orioles baseball in 2025, which I'm sure we all did, he was amongst the best, at least hitters, the Orioles had in September. And him not getting an opportunity that I think he should get, I think his name should be in there. And it is, but he's way down. Now they got Thiago Estrada that they signed to a minor league contract, career 251 hitter. Can play second base, can play third base. So I think you're going to see Blaze Alexander every day at second base while Jackson Holliday's out, and then it's a strong possibility that he moves over to third base and plays every day, because it does not seem like Coby Mayo catches much of a playing time break around here. Matt, am I wrong?
Well, no, you're not wrong. I mean, it seems like every article that I've read, it talks about Coby Mayo's defense at third base and how that's been the concern. That was one of the reasons why they moved him from third to first base when he was in the minor leagues, was to be able to kind of get his bat in the lineup without his defense playing a role. But I to a degree, I think it's a little bit overstated. They act like he's so terrible at third base, like he's awful. I'm not expecting him to go out and win a Gold Glove by any means, but as long as he can be adequate and solid and not make multiple errors, I just don't know how you can keep his bat as long as he's hitting. I don't think that you can keep his bat out of the lineup, particularly without Westburg, who you were counting on, I think, to have a big year offensively. Jeremiah Jackson, he kind of came out of nowhere last year, took a lot of people by surprise. And I'm not saying that he's a bad player, that he can't fill in, but like if you're asking me who I would rather see day in and day out, it would be Coby Mayo. I want to see him play every day. I want to see him getting
Me
consistent at
too.
bats, not having to look over his shoulder about whether he's going to be in the lineup the next day. And if he plays his way out of the position, that's one thing. But to me, he was a high draft pick. He's one of your higher thought of prospects. At least he was going into last season. You have to see what you have. You got to play him, give an opportunity, see what happens.
Yeah,
Michael, is he your guy?
I agree with both of you. I want to see what Coby Mayo can do, and it happened early in spring training, so they're going to have a chance to take a long look at Coby Mayo on third base. And I heard Elias yesterday say that was their intent, that they're going to play him quite a bit at third base. He has played it throughout his career. It's his natural position. He, of course, he made an error today, but he went 2 for 3 and had a throwing error, which might be what you get from Coby Mayo. But throughout his minor league career, he was an adequate third baseman. If you look at his fielding stats in the minor leagues, there's errors, but there aren't 20, 30 error seasons. He's not going to be Jordan Westburg. And but if his bat truly plays, for instance, if it plays like it did last September, well, then I think it's okay to keep him there. The other thing I would say is that I think we know, and I understand your affinity for Jeremiah Jackson, Joe. I thought he was impressive in that stint that we had him there last year. The thing that I would say about that is Mike Elias traded for Blaze, and he wants. I mean, I think evidently, he thinks a lot of that guy by what he gave up for him, and I think that's going to give him a leg up on playing second base if Holliday is out for a little an extended period of time, and then if Coby doesn't do well with the glove, I think he's going to be the guy next in line to go to third base.
Now, Jeremiah Jackson, okay, now keep in mind, he's an infielder. They wanted his bat in the lineup again. We're talking about late October and into September. They were well out of contention at that point. But he's not a right fielder. He's an infielder. And again, not now before he got to the Orioles, I think he was near 315 home runs. Again, Jeremiah Jackson surprised me. I did not think he was going to be as good as he was. And considering he was, and I think we'll all agree, as you said, Michael, you were impressed by him. Matt, I imagine you were too. I just don't understand why he isn't in the conversation a bit more. And I think one of two things, Michael, either Mike Elias does not think that Jeremiah Jackson is a very good infielder, or he really liked Blaze Alexander when he had the opportunity to get him. Matt Faulkner, your thoughts, Jeremiah Jackson? I mean, should he be in the conversation?
I mean, I think he certainly factors in. I think Jackson is more valuable to the team in that utility role where you can move him around. He's played second base. You mentioned he's played the outfield, albeit not very well. I think it was in Chicago where he dropped the pop up in right field, but the outfield at the end of last year was rough, and they were just it felt like they were just throwing bodies out there just to take up a position. And he hit well enough to stay in it, but obviously he's not going to do anything defensively to wow you in the outfield. But I just think Blaze Alexander was a guy looking at it now that I think Elias really likes. So I think it's probably, to answer your question, it's probably a little bit of both. He really liked Blaze Alexander, and I think there were probably some concerns about Jeremiah Jackson sticking long term at one position. Um, and I think it'll be kind of interesting to see how it works itself out over the next couple of weeks during spring training to see, you read the reports where guys are playing, where they're taking reps. And I just think Jackson is valuable because he can play a lot of positions. He can come in the middle of a game. He can run. Whereas I think Blaze Alexander is more, in my opinion, a little bit more sturdy or reliable. He's played more infield than Jackson has, and I think I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, not being able to read Mike Elias's mind, the thing that strikes me about the infield situation and Jeremiah Jackson's potential place on this team is that Mike Elias keeps collecting infielders. He went and traded for Blaze. He signed Estrada. He had Ramos, let him go. Now he's back.
Yeah.
So he keeps putting guys into the fold. And I mean, Estrada's spent parts of 7 years in the majors,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so it's just the fact that Elias keeps adding people to the mix certainly shows me that he's not, committed in any way to Jeremiah Jackson. I think the only guy in the infield that he's committed to is Blaze. And everything else is going to work its way out. And I hope it works out that Coby's at third. Hope he does well, and that they have a conundrum if Jordan Westburg comes back.
And that's the thing. I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, again, we're not mind readers. Well, I might be, but you guys aren't. No, I'm kidding. Jordan Westburg, really? When we know he's out, they say until at least May. Does he play this season? I mean, your honest opinion, does he? We'll start with you, Matt. Does he?
I think he's going to give it a shot. The concern that I have is, you look at some of the other guys that have had that same procedure done, they all didn't play third base. Like Bryce Harper had it done before he had Tommy John. They moved him to first base. He was a DH. Shohei Ohtani, before he had his procedure, again, moved to DH. And the Orioles already have way too many guys that really are first base DH guys. They've got probably 3 or 4 guys that on any given day could DH. And so it's not as simple as saying, oh, we can bring him back just to keep his bat in the order. You're not going to move him to second base because now you're going to have to move Jackson Holliday from second base, and then you're shuffling around the infield. So obviously third base is the long throw. Obviously he's not a pitcher. He's not having to throw as many times, but I don't know. I think obviously this is the conservative route. The Orioles are crossing their fingers that this will work out, but I have doubts long term that he's going to be able to sustain playing at the level that he wants to play at.
I'm going to say 2 things. One, the Orioles showed no hesitation last year to move guys around the infield. Guys who are the future of this team and who they seem to say, this is going to be their position, but they would move them, and I don't think that came from the manager. I think that was Elias's belief, right? So Matt, to your point about moving guys around, I do not put it past this team, if he were to come back, to put Jordan at second, move Gunnar to third, and Holliday to short. Now, I think that's problematic because you're moving all three guys to positions that you say are not their long-term positions. But I don't put it past them because Westburg has played second. Holliday is a shortstop. Gunnar has played third. So I don't think that that's like out of the question. If they were like, okay, well, we want to reduce the strain on Jordan's arm, we're going to put him at second. I hope not, because, that's just like sort of chaos to move those three guys to different positions.
Yeah, I mean,
So, no, please, Matt.
no, just to kind of counter that. I love Jackson Holliday. I have, for as many people that talk about Coby Mayo's defense at third base, I I look at Jackson Holliday at second base and I see a lot of shakiness at times from him.
Yeah.
Like I don't necessarily think he's a great
He's
defender
a
right now.
shortstop.
Well, and that's what I think is going to be a bigger issue. You're at second base, you got a little bit more time. You bobble a ball, it's a shorter throw. You move him to shortstop and you kick a ground ball, you bobble a ball. He doesn't have, in my opinion, a great arm. I don't know. I hope that
Yeah,
work
but
out.
shortstop is his natural position. I mean, they moved him to second because they wanted to shoehorn him into the lineup, and he got very little experience playing at the minor leagues. And then they're like, okay, you're our major league second baseman. So he has spent a lifetime at shortstop, and he spent less than a season at second base. I agree with you. I mean, I think he's shaky at second, but at times was shaky at second last year. But I think some of that's just, inexperience, lack of playing time at second base. So trust me, I'm not advocating for moving the three guys around. It's just like, to me, it doesn't seem impossible that it'll cross their mind.
That's fair. That's fair.
Guys, I think something really exciting. Okay. Number one, we're in spring training. Number two, season's coming up. Speaking of the season coming up, O's fans, I'm beside myself. We're doing live shows starting March 26, 2 p.m. Michael Sullivan, the brilliant Michael Sullivan, will be at Oriole Park at Camden Yards, and he's going to be our field representative. So we're going to be checking in with Michael from time to time. We're going to be doing pregame 2 p.m. After the last pitch of the game, we're going to come back for postgame. You can call in and tell us what you really think about us. As always, O's fans, we are just so appreciative you take some time to hang out with us. For the brilliant Michael Sullivan and the handsome Matt Faulkner, the birthday guy a couple of days ago. Got a lot of happy birthdays out there. I'm Joe Versano. God bless you. Don't forget to adopt a pet. We'll see you all next time.